Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much. What if nobody ever applauds your efforts? Would you still chase your dreams? What if no one ever shows up to support you? Would you still show up for yourself? What if the only person who truly cares about your future is you? Most people go through life waiting for validation, for permission, for someone to notice. They wait for their boss to recognize their hustle, for their family to back their ambitions, for friends to cheer them on, or for society to stamp their dreams as worthy. But while they wait, time slips away quietly, year after year, until their dreams fade into distant memories rather than lived realities. Here's what years of observing successful people has made crystal clear. Those who truly rise above the rest are the ones who stop waiting. They stop expecting approval. They stop looking for someone to care more about their vision than they do. Instead, they take full control of their lives and move forward despite the silence around them. Self-reliance isn't just a motivational buzzword. It's the bedrock of every meaningful achievement. Ask yourself, when you wake up each morning, who's thinking about your goals? When you lie awake at night, who carries the weight of your worries? Who's planning your next move? The answer is simple. You. Only you. It's your goals that keep you up. It's your drive that pushes you through challenges. And it's your results, whether success or failure, that will shape your future, not anyone else's. This isn't a selfish mindset. It's just the truth. And once you embrace that truth, something changes. A new kind of strength emerges. You stop looking around for applause. You stop needing approval from people who are too wrapped up in their own battles to champion yours. And most importantly, you start acting based on what you believe is best for your future, your purpose, your life. This brings us to one of the most powerful ideas you'll ever embrace: responsibility. Because when you finally realize that nobody cares about your goals as much as you do, you're forced to take complete ownership of your life. But responsibility isn't a burden, it's a gift. It's not a weight, it's a launch pad. Taking responsibility means you no longer wait on luck, timing, or external help. You recognize that no matter what comes your way, you have the ability to respond, adapt, and rise. Most people spend their lives running from responsibility. They want someone else to make the decisions, someone else to shoulder the blame when things fall apart, someone else to step in and fix the mess. But here's the hard truth. That mindset leads to powerlessness. The people who truly build a life of meaning and purpose are the ones who don't hide from responsibility. They embrace it. They welcome it. They know that with great responsibility doesn't come pressure, it comes power. And what kind of power? The power to shape their own destiny. Something incredible begins to unfold when you shift your focus inward and start truly focusing on your own life. When you stop chasing approval, stop worrying about what others might think, and stop expecting others to cheer for your dreams more than you do, a transformation takes place. You begin to develop what I call inner scorecard thinking. Instead of judging yourself by how others see you, you begin measuring success by your own values, your own growth, your own deep sense of purpose. This is where true freedom begins. You're no longer caught in the exhausting trap of trying to please everyone, constantly shifting yourself to meet expectations that aren't even yours to begin with. When you take back that energy, when you stop letting it leak out in a dozen directions, you gain clarity and power. You can focus that energy on becoming the person you were meant to be and building the life you actually want, not the one others think you should have. Now, let's be clear. Focusing on your life doesn't mean turning selfish. In fact, it's the opposite. When you take full responsibility for your own success, your own mindset, and your own happiness, you become a better friend, a better partner, a better leader. Why? Because you're no longer needy. You're no longer draining others by constantly seeking validation or waiting for someone to push you forward. Instead, you become a source of strength, a well others can draw from. You become someone who inspires, uplifts, and contributes meaningfully. Think of it like this. You can't pour from an empty cup. If you haven't invested in your own growth, mentally, emotionally, financially, what do you really have to offer the world? But when you focus on building a strong foundation within yourself, your capacity to give, to serve, and to lead expands beyond what you thought possible. The people who take charge of their own development, who step up instead of sitting back, who accept full ownership of their path, those are the ones who become living examples of what's possible. They don't just talk about success, they live it, and they inspire others to do the same. They don't sit around blaming circumstances, the economy, their family background, or the education system. They look in a mirror and say something powerful. If it's going to be, it's up to me. That is personal accountability. That is what separates those who drift from those who rise. These individuals set their own expectations. They measure their own growth. And they hold themselves to a standard that doesn't depend on external permission. They generate their own motivation. They don't wait for Monday to get serious about their diet. They don't postpone their fitness goals until January rolls around. They don't hold off on launching a business until the stars align or conditions feel just right. Winners understand a powerful truth. The best time to start was 20 years ago, and the second best time is now. This kind of personal accountability changes everything. It changes how you wake up in the morning because you're no longer waiting for someone else to light a fire under you. You've developed your own fire. You've built the habit of self-motivation. It changes how you face obstacles because you're no longer expecting someone else to swoop in and fix things. Instead, you've developed your own resourcefulness, your own ability to solve problems, adapt, and move forward. Even setbacks begin to look different. Instead of asking, who's at fault? You start asking, what can I learn here? How do I grow from this? That shift is everything. Because the moment you accept deep down that nobody will ever care about your dreams, your success, or your future as much as you do, is the moment you reclaim your power. You're no longer a passive participant in your own life. You become the architect, designing and building a future that reflects your deepest values and highest aspirations. Each day becomes an opportunity, not just another 24 hours to get through. It's a chance to move forward, to stretch yourself, to take one more step toward the vision you've set. You stop seeing success as some far-off destination and begin seeing it for what it truly is. A mindset, a journey, a way of showing up every day with purpose and intention. This philosophy doesn't just live in your head. It spreads into every part of your life. At work, you stop waiting for your manager to notice your potential. Instead, you begin showing it clearly, consistently, through the quality and integrity of your work. You don't expect promotions to be gifted to you. You earn them not just through effort, but through excellence and initiative. You stop blaming your workplace, your boss, or the system. Instead, you focus on adding so much value that your presence becomes essential. Or better yet, you build the courage, skill set, and mindset to create your own doors, your own opportunities, outside of anyone else's approval. And in your relationships, everything shifts again. You stop expecting your partner, your friends, or your family to be the sole source of your happiness. You stop placing the weight of your fulfillment on someone else's shoulders. Instead, you take responsibility for what you bring to the relationship, whether it's joy, support, kindness, or growth. You bring happiness to the table instead of waiting to be served it. You stop searching for the perfect partner and start focusing on becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts healthy, meaningful relationships. Instead of waiting for someone to meet your expectations, you begin meeting your own. You stop keeping emotional score, measuring what others have done for you, and instead shift your attention to what you can do for the people you care about. Because deep down you realize, The best way to build lasting relationships is to be the kind of friend, partner, or family member you want to have in your life. And in the realm of your finances, the transformation continues. You stop blaming the economy, your boss, or political policies for your financial struggles. You stop waiting for a raise, a stimulus check, or someone to bail you out. Instead, you take full ownership of your financial future. You educate yourself. You begin to budget with intention. You live below your means, not because it's easy, but because it's wise. You make conscious investment decisions, knowing that wealth isn't built overnight. It's built gradually through smart, consistent choices. You come to understand that your financial reality isn't determined by your circumstances. It's determined by your financial decisions, repeated over time. And when it comes to your health, you stop making excuses. No more blaming your genes, your age, or your calendar. You finally admit the truth. That your body, the only one you'll ever have, is your responsibility. So you start treating it with the respect it deserves. You move your body regularly. You fuel it with real food. You prioritize sleep. You manage stress before it manages you. You understand that your energy, your focus, your longevity, all of it is tied to how well you take care of your physical self. Then, there's your growth, your personal development. Here, you no longer wait for someone else to fund your education or hand you an opportunity. You take charge of your own learning. You read books that challenge your thinking. You attend events, seminars, and workshops. You listen to podcasts, not just for entertainment, but for elevation. You seek out people who stretch your mindset and challenge your comfort zone. You realize that the best investment you'll ever make isn't in stocks, real estate, or business. It's in you, in your mind, in your habits, in your character. And what happens when you finally shift from external dependency to internal ownership? You experience something rare and powerful: freedom, real freedom, the kind that comes not from escape, but from empowerment. When you're no longer addicted to the need for validation. When your joy is no longer tied to someone else's opinion. When your direction comes from your own internal compass. You become unshakable. You gain the freedom to chase your own dreams without asking for permission. The freedom to make decisions aligned with your core values. The freedom to design a life that makes sense to you, not one that's crafted to impress or satisfy others. But this freedom isn't free. It comes at a cost, and that cost is responsibility. You can't have freedom without responsibility. You can't create your version of success without also owning your failures. That's the deal. And winners, the ones who truly rise, understand and embrace this deal every single day. You can't truly be free to make your own decisions without also being willing to face the consequences of those decisions. You can't chase your dreams on your own terms unless you're also prepared to do the hard, sometimes thankless work required to make them a reality. Most people want the rewards of freedom, but not the weight of responsibility that comes with it. They want to complain about their circumstances without being responsible for changing them. They want to dream big, bold dreams, yet shrink from the actions those dreams demand. They want success to show up without putting in the time to build the skills, the resilience, the discipline, and the character required to earn it. But the truth is clear. Freedom and responsibility are inseparable. They are two sides of the same coin, and you can't have one without the other. The more responsibility you accept for your life, your choices, and your results, the more freedom you unlock to shape your life the way you envision it. The more self-reliant you become, the less you're held back by the limitations or expectations of others. And the more you grow your own capabilities, the more doors open before you, doors that were once invisible. This understanding leads us to another powerful principle: the importance of developing your own life philosophy. When you stop waiting for others to care more about your goals than you do, when you take full ownership of your outcomes, you need something solid to guide you. That something is your personal philosophy, your framework for decision-making, your internal compass, your guiding light. Because life isn't always clear. There will be crossroads, temptations, setbacks, and distractions. Without a well-defined philosophy, you'll be pulled in 1,000 directions by emotions, trends, or the opinions of others. But when you have a clear philosophy, a core belief system that's grounded in timeless truths, you can stay steady, even when life feels chaotic. Your philosophy tells you what matters most. It shapes how you use your time, where you direct your energy, and what you choose to ignore. It brings consistency to your life, not by removing emotion, but by giving you a solid foundation beneath it. And from that foundation, you build a life with purpose. A good philosophy doesn't come from trends or social media quotes. It's built on principles, universal truths about success, fulfillment, progress, and even failure. These principles aren't hidden. They're not locked away in some secret vault. They've been taught for centuries by thinkers, leaders, and mentors in every generation. The challenge isn't in discovering these truths. The real challenge is in living them, daily, consistently, especially when it's inconvenient. Because that's where transformation happens, not in what you know, but in what you apply. And winners? They live their philosophy every day. One of the most powerful truths you can ever embrace is the principle of sowing and reaping. It's simple, yet profound. You always reap what you sow, often more than you sow, and usually later than you sow. Think about that for a second. If you plant seeds of discipline today, you'll eventually harvest achievement and pride. If you plant seeds of neglect, what grows in your life? Regret, frustration, and missed opportunities. Plant kindness and friendship will bloom. Sow wisdom, and over time, you'll reap the benefits of sound judgment and wise decision-making. This principle is at work in your life whether you realize it or not. The results you're seeing right now, the good and the bad, are the harvest of seeds you planted weeks, months, or even years ago. And just as important, the results you're going to see in the future are being determined by the seeds you're planting today. Once you truly grasp this, something shifts. You begin to take full ownership of your life. You stop blaming the weather, the economy, or the people around you. You recognize that your current reality is largely shaped by your past actions, habits, and mindset. This leads us naturally to another foundational principle, the law of cause and effect. For every result, every effect in your life, there is a specific cause or set of causes. Nothing just happens. Success isn't random. It's an effect. And the causes? Clear goals, consistent daily action, a commitment to learning, and the refusal to quit when things get hard. Failure is also an effect, and it too has causes. Lack of clarity, inconsistent habits, avoidance of learning, the habit of giving up too soon. When you begin to think this way, you stop waiting on luck to rescue you. You stop wishing for things to magically improve. Instead, you shift your energy toward creating change by applying the right causes. This mindset makes you strategic. You become almost scientific about growth. You observe what works, you repeat it. You notice what holds you back, and you replace it. You no longer hope for success, you engineer it. You become intentional with your time, your energy, your decisions. And here's the incredible part. These principles don't discriminate. They don't care about your background, your age, your education, or your past mistakes. They're available to anyone, anywhere, at any time. But they don't reward knowledge alone. They reward action. They're not waiting on someone to give you permission. They're waiting on you to discover them, understand them, and most importantly, apply them. Because no one else can do it for you. That responsibility is yours and yours alone. This is exactly why focusing on your own life isn't just helpful, it's essential. You can't control how others apply the timeless principles of success, but you can absolutely control how you apply them. You can't force someone else to develop discipline, but you can build it within yourself. You can't make others set meaningful goals, but you can define and pursue your own. You can't push others to take action, but you can take full responsibility for your next step. And here's the truth. When you channel your energy into your own growth, when you commit to your own path with clarity and consistency, something powerful begins to happen. You generate momentum. And momentum is not just movement, it's fuel. It turns effort into flow. It transforms heavy resistance into forward motion. It makes hard things manageable and the impossible within reach. But don't be fooled. Momentum doesn't show up instantly. It's not something that knocks on your door overnight. Momentum is built quietly, one consistent choice at a time. It grows when you follow through on your commitments, even on the days you don't feel like it. It's strengthened every time you raise your standards instead of lowering them just to stay comfortable. It's born out of those small, almost invisible victories that add up over time, step by step, layer by layer. You see, most people vastly underestimate the power of simple, consistent action. They chase after big breakthroughs and dramatic changes. They dream of overnight success stories without realizing that real, lasting success is built slowly, one decision, one action, one disciplined moment at a time. I call this the miracle of small improvements. Imagine this. If you improve by just 1% every day, you'll be 37 times better by the end of the year. That's not hype, it's math. That's what consistency does when it compounds over time. That's why your daily habits matter more than you might realize. They're not just routines. They're the architecture of your future. Your habits form the framework of your destiny. Show me your habits, and I can tell you exactly where you're heading. So if you want to change your future, you need to change your habits. If you want to change your habits, you must first change your daily routine. And to change your routine, you must shift how you think, especially about what truly matters. The person who truly understands that nobody will care about their success as deeply as they do learns to build habits that reflect that truth. They don't sit around waiting for motivation to arrive. Instead, they lean on discipline because discipline shows up even when motivation doesn't. They don't sit around waiting for the perfect moment. They work with what they've got right now. They don't wait for someone to grant them permission. They give themselves the green light. They don't rely on the praise or encouragement of others to get going. Instead, they become their own greatest source of motivation. These individuals understand a powerful truth. Success isn't about flawless execution. It's about steady, relentless progress. They don't expect to nail everything on the first try, but they do expect to grow and improve with each step. They don't assume they'll avoid failure, but they commit to never letting failure stop them. They know the path won't always be smooth or predictable, but they trust that the journey is absolutely worth it. And that belief builds something essential: resilience. Resilience may be one of the most underrated superpowers you can cultivate. It's what helps you rise after a fall. It's what turns setbacks into lessons. It's what allows you to adjust when circumstances shift unexpectedly. And most importantly, it's what keeps you moving forward when everything inside you wants to stop. That's what sets successful people apart from those who give up at the first sign of adversity. When you take full ownership of your success, when you stop leaning on others to carry you through the tough times, you begin to develop a kind of inner strength that nothing can take away from you. You become your own fuel, your own coach, your own strategist. This is what emotional self-sufficiency is all about. And it's one of the most valuable abilities you can build. It doesn't mean you isolate yourself or reject meaningful connections. Quite the opposite. It means your sense of stability and identity doesn't depend on anyone else's opinion or approval. You're anchored within. You learn how to remain centered, even when those around you are having a bad day. You stay calm when criticism comes your way. You stay focused even when plans fall apart. This emotional balance becomes an invisible strength, and it's one that attracts attention. People naturally gravitate toward those who are grounded, resilient, and self-directed. They're drawn to those who carry themselves with quiet confidence, not because they never face problems, but because they've trained themselves to rise above them. These inner qualities, emotional self-sufficiency, personal accountability, and inner resilience, don't just change how you feel inside, they change how others see you too. You become a valuable team member at work, a trusted friend who others rely on, a respected leader people want to follow, and even an attractive partner. Not because you need others to complete you, but because you've already completed yourself. When you stop depending on others to solve your problems or affirm your worth, you develop a quiet strength. And that strength naturally draws others in. But reaching this level of self-reliance requires something that many people quietly avoid: being alone with themselves. You have to learn how to sit with your thoughts, to enjoy your own company, and to find comfort in solitude. Not loneliness, solitude. There's a big difference. This isn't about isolating yourself or rejecting social connection. It's about developing the most vital relationship in your life, the one you have with yourself. When you're at peace with who you are, you no longer chase decisions that impress others. Instead, you pursue what genuinely matters to you. You stop living for the applause and start living for alignment with your values, your passions, your purpose. In that space, you begin to discover what truly lights you up. You begin peeling away the layers, roles you've played, labels others gave you, expectations you thought you had to fulfill. And beneath all of that, you find someone real, someone honest, someone worth knowing. That's where true self-discovery begins. And let's be honest, it's not always easy. It takes courage to look in the mirror and see yourself clearly. It means being willing to acknowledge not only your strengths, but also your blind spots. Your talents, yes, but also your limits. Your wins, and the lessons buried in your failures. But this isn't about tearing yourself down. It's about being honest enough to build yourself up on a strong, realistic foundation. Because when you know yourself, you stop making random or reactive choices. You start designing your life with clarity. This level of honesty should touch every area of your life. In your career, for example, ask yourself, what are you naturally drawn to? What skills come easily to you? What type of environment brings out your best? What kind of challenges push you to grow instead of burn you out? These aren't questions someone else can answer. They require your reflection, your honesty, your clarity. And the answers? They become the blueprint for making smarter, more fulfilling choices for your future. In your relationships, you got to take a hard, honest look at yourself. What kind of person are you when it comes to connection, trust, communication? What qualities do you bring to a relationship? And just as importantly, what qualities do you need from someone else in return? Are you aware of your strengths in relationships? Are there patterns or weaknesses you've been ignoring? These aren't easy questions, but answering them is essential. Because when you understand yourself, you're better equipped to build relationships that are healthy, complementary, and sustainable, and avoid the ones that are clearly headed for heartbreak or disappointment. When it comes to your finances, the same principle applies. Take a step back and assess your current situation with clear eyes. How much are you really earning? Where's your money actually going? Are your spending habits aligned with your goals? Or are they sabotaging your future? Where are your strengths financially? And where do you still need to learn and grow? Most people avoid these questions because they're uncomfortable, but those who face them head-on gain something powerful: control over their financial future. This level of self-evaluation is rarely comfortable. In fact, it's often downright uncomfortable because it forces you to face truths you might have been avoiding for years. But that discomfort, it's not a bad thing. It's often a sign that you're growing. Growth never comes from staying in your comfort zone. It comes from stepping into the truth, even when it stings a little. That's the dividing line between people who evolve throughout life and those who stay stuck in old habits, old thinking, and old results. Once you've gone through this process of honest self-reflection, a new kind of clarity begins to form. You start seeing where your energy actually needs to go. And this is where the real magic of focusing on your own life starts to take root. You're no longer trying to juggle every role, meet every expectation, and chase every opportunity that comes your way. Instead, you begin to narrow your focus and double down on the areas that truly matter. Because let's face it, your energy is finite. Your attention span is limited. Your time, your focus, your emotional bandwidth, they all have limits. And if you're constantly scattering those resources across too many directions, you'll end up exhausted and ineffective. But when you become intentional, when you direct your energy toward the few areas that have the greatest potential impact, you start to see real, measurable progress. That's why the ability to say no is so critical. Not to things that are bad, but to things that are merely good. Why? So you can say yes to what is best. Every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. Every hour you spend doing one task is an hour you can't give to something else. Every dollar you spend in one area is a dollar you can invest somewhere more important. Understanding this helps you make better choices, more strategic, more intentional decisions about how you invest your time, your energy, and your resources. And when you apply this thinking consistently, that's when your life starts to change in powerful ways. Most people never take the time to master this critical skill. They say yes to everything and everyone. Yes to every meeting request. Yes to every invitation. Yes to every shiny opportunity that pops up. On the surface, they seem productive. Their calendars are full. Their days are packed. They're constantly on the move. But here's the truth. They're staying busy, not making progress. They're putting in effort, but not moving forward. They're active, but not effective. The person who understands that nobody cares about their success as much as they do learns to guard their time and energy with intention and intensity. They understand that being constantly busy is not the same as being truly productive. They've learned that just because you're doing something doesn't mean you're achieving something. And if you don't consciously take control of your schedule will take control of you. That's why they develop something I call selective excellence. Rather than trying to do everything well, they choose to do a few key things exceptionally. Instead of spreading themselves thin across 100 tasks, they go deep on the priorities that matter most. Instead of trying to win everyone's approval, they focus on serving those who truly matter. Instead of chasing every opportunity, they pursue the opportunities that align with their values, their mission, and their long-term vision. Selective excellence doesn't happen by accident. It requires clarity. You must know exactly what your priorities are and have the courage to design your life around those priorities. And that's not always easy. People will misunderstand you. Some may think you're being selfish. Others may criticize your decisions or feel disappointed when you're not available on their terms. But here's where the real power of understanding that nobody cares about your success as much as you do comes into play. It sets you free. Once you fully embrace this mindset, you stop needing universal approval. You stop waiting for people to agree with your choices. You stop trying to explain yourself to everyone. Instead, you operate from clarity. You act from conviction. You become anchored in what matters most to you. And that clarity becomes your shield against pressure, guilt, and distraction. So the question becomes, are you willing to narrow your focus? Are you ready to choose excellence in a few vital areas instead of mediocrity in many? That's how progress begins. And that's how success is sustained. This courage, the courage to act on your own convictions even when others don't get it, when they question or disapprove, is one of the clearest dividing lines between those who succeed and those who settle. Successful people are willing to be misunderstood. They're willing to be judged. They're willing to walk alone if that's what it takes to stay aligned with their vision. They understand that success often demands a price, and that price is frequently the disapproval of people who aren't willing to make the same sacrifices. But let's be clear, this isn't about arrogance. It's not about shutting others out or believing you're always right. It's about being confident in your decisions while staying open to growth. It's having the self-trust to move forward without applause and the self-awareness to pause and pivot when new insight proves valuable. You don't seek constant validation, yet you welcome constructive feedback. That balance is powerful. This delicate tension between confidence and humility, between being grounded in yourself and being open to others, is absolutely essential for lasting success. Confidence without humility quickly morphs into arrogance. And arrogance blinds you, pushes people away, and shuts down opportunities. On the other hand, humility without confidence turns into hesitation and self-doubt. That opens the door to being overlooked, manipulated, or stuck in indecision. But when you combine true confidence with grounded humility, you unlock wisdom. That wisdom makes you magnetic. People respect your judgment, trust your presence, and feel inspired by your example. And here's the beautiful part. When you focus deeply on improving your own life, when you're intentional about your growth, you begin to naturally cultivate both qualities. Confidence grows from seeing yourself show up daily, making hard choices, owning your outcomes. It comes from knowing you're not waiting for life to happen. You're creating it. Humility grows from recognizing how much more there is to master, how much farther you can still go. That blend makes you powerful yet approachable, strong yet teachable. These qualities don't just shape you. They make you a natural leader, not necessarily by title, but by influence. Whether you're guiding a team at work, shaping your family culture, or simply becoming someone others quietly admire, your influence begins with how you live. Real leadership is less about commands and more about example. It's the power of consistency, integrity, and self-discipline, especially when no one's watching. Because when you accept full responsibility for your life, when you operate from high standards and unwavering purpose, you become a living example of what's possible. You show others, through your actions, not just your words, what it looks like to take ownership, to stay focused, and to rise. This kind of leadership doesn't require a title, a nameplate on a desk, or formal authority. It doesn't ask for permission or approval from anyone else. True leadership begins the moment you decide to take responsibility for who you are becoming. It starts when you commit to being the kind of person others naturally look up to, feel inspired by, and want to follow, not because they have to, but because they choose to. That kind of influence is earned, not given. And it comes as a natural byproduct of focusing relentlessly on becoming the best version of yourself. But becoming your best self isn't a finish line you cross. It's not a one-time achievement. It's a lifelong pursuit. It's a journey marked by continual learning, consistent effort, and the courage to grow beyond who you were yesterday. It demands that you repeatedly step outside your comfort zone, even when it's uncomfortable. It asks you to say yes to new experiences, to remain open to fresh perspectives, and to stay curious, not just for a season, but for a lifetime. Why is that so important? Because when growth stops, life starts to feel stale. The moment you stop learning, you begin to stagnate. The moment you stop challenging yourself, you start sliding into mediocrity. But when you commit to ongoing personal development, real, intentional growth, every day becomes an opportunity to expand, to evolve, to uncover more of what you're capable of becoming. The person who truly embraces the principle that nobody cares about their success as much as they do naturally develops a deep hunger for progress. They become lifelong learners, not because someone tells them to, but because they're internally driven to become more. They read books not just for entertainment, but to gain insight. They attend seminars, to stretch their thinking. They listen to audio programs and podcasts, not to pass time, but to plant seeds of growth. They seek out mentors who challenge their perspectives, and they extract lessons from every win and every loss, from every high and every low. And this kind of learning isn't confined to classrooms or corporate workshops. It's not limited to degrees or certifications. This is the learning that matters most. Learning who you really are, learning how to build stronger relationships, learning how to navigate life's ups and downs with resilience and grace. It's developing your emotional intelligence, sharpening your self-awareness, and learning how to grow through adversity. It's understanding that every moment, whether joyful or painful, has something to teach you if you're paying attention. Every experience becomes a teacher when you approach life with the mindset of a learner. Challenges stop being roadblocks and instead become training grounds, places where your strength and resilience are forged. Setbacks no longer signal defeat. They become invitations to grow, adjust, and come back stronger. Even your successes, rather than being final destinations, become solid foundations upon which even greater achievements can be built. This kind of perspective changes everything. It doesn't just shift how you view individual moments. It transforms your entire relationship with life itself. Rather than seeing life as something that simply happens to you, you begin to realize you're a co-creator of your own story. You stop acting like a passive participant and start living like an active architect. You stop reacting to events as though you have no power and instead begin influencing how those events shape your future. And that shift from victim to creator is as empowering as it is life-changing. When you take full ownership of your growth and keep your focus on your own development, you discover a truth that's often overlooked. You have far more control over your outcomes than you ever imagined. Of course, you can't control everything that happens around you. Life will still bring surprises, obstacles, and unexpected turns. But what you can control, what you always control, is how you respond. And it's your response that ultimately shapes your results. Which brings us to one of the most powerful skills you can ever master: the ability to choose your response to any situation. There's a space, however brief, between what happens to you and how you react. And inside that space lies your greatest freedom, the freedom to choose. This choice is the essence of human strength. It's a freedom no one can take from you, no matter your circumstances. Most people don't realize this. They react instinctively and emotionally. Someone criticizes them, and they snap back in anger. Something goes wrong, and frustration takes over. A challenge arises, and they shut down in discouragement. But the person who has fully embraced responsibility for their life learns to pause, to breathe, to reflect, and then to respond with intention, not impulse. That pause, that decision, is where your power lives. You can choose curiosity over defensiveness when you're criticized. You can choose persistence over defeat when life gets tough. You can choose to meet challenges with focus and courage instead of fear. And the more often you make those intentional choices, the more powerful and centered you become. These moment-by-moment choices, how you respond, how you manage your inner world, are what shape your character and ultimately define your destiny. But developing this kind of strength doesn't happen by accident. It requires conscious effort and repeated practice. You have to become aware of your knee-jerk reactions, and then, deliberately, begin replacing them with responses that empower you. It's not about faking a smile or pretending everything is perfect. It's about responding with intention, not emotion. It's about learning to act in alignment with your long-term goals, even when your short-term emotions try to pull you in another direction. That's why emotional intelligence matters so much. Because whether you realize it or not, your emotions drive your actions, and your actions shape your life. If you're constantly reacting impulsively, if you let frustration, fear, or insecurity steer your decisions, then you're not in the driver's seat. Your emotions are. And until you gain mastery over your emotions, real control over your life will remain out of reach. But here's what sets high achievers apart. The person who focuses deeply on their own growth learns to lead their emotions instead of being led by them. They don't try to ignore their feelings or sweep them under the rug. Instead, they listen. They learn. They understand that emotions carry valuable signals, but they don't allow those emotions to dictate their behavior. They make choices rooted in values and vision, not in temporary feelings. This ability to manage emotions wisely becomes an incredible advantage in every area of life. In your career, it means you can stay composed under pressure, think clearly in chaotic moments, and build strong relationships even during difficult times. In your personal life, it allows you to respond with kindness instead of anger, with empathy instead of judgment, with grace instead of frustration. And most importantly, emotional mastery gives you consistency. It allows you to keep moving toward your goals even when motivation fades. Because let's be honest, motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. You can't build a meaningful life on moments of inspiration alone. But emotional discipline, that's something you can count on. Motivation is fleeting. It rises and falls depending on your mood, your environment, or what kind of day you're having. But discipline shows up no matter what. It doesn't ask how you feel. It acts on commitment, not emotion. And that's what makes it powerful. When motivation disappears, discipline steps in to carry the weight. That's why those who take full responsibility for their success don't rely on motivation alone. They build their lives on discipline. These people do what needs to be done, even when they don't feel like it. They keep their standards high, even when no one's watching. They stay true to their word, even when the path gets hard. And that's the difference maker. Discipline becomes the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. But let's clear up a common misconception. Discipline isn't about being harsh with yourself. It's not about self-denial or living without joy. It's about integrity. It's about doing what you said you would do, when you said you would do it, especially when it's inconvenient. It's about keeping the promises you make to yourself with the same respect and seriousness you give to promises you make to others. And when you start honoring your own word consistently, something powerful happens. You begin to trust yourself. That trust fuels your confidence. And when you're confident, you aim higher. You start setting bold goals, and more importantly, you believe you can achieve them. Each time you follow through, your self-respect grows. And the more you respect yourself, the more unstoppable you become. It's a reinforcing cycle. Discipline builds trust, trust builds confidence, and confidence fuels achievement. But discipline, on its own, isn't enough. It needs direction. That's where wisdom comes in. Wisdom helps you channel your efforts with precision. It's what allows you to make smart decisions based on knowledge, insight, and lived experience. Wisdom teaches you to tell the difference between what's truly important and what just feels urgent in the moment. It helps you see past distractions and focus on what actually moves the needle. It's wisdom that allows you to ask, am I chasing what's good or what's best? Am I spending time on what's possible or what's practical? And those questions can change everything. Wisdom is one of the most valuable assets you can cultivate, and it doesn't arrive all at once. It comes from many different places. It comes from formal education, from personal experience, from careful observation of others, and from taking the time to reflect on everything you've lived through. It comes from diving into the stories of great thinkers and leaders throughout history, learning from both their triumphs and their failures. It grows when you analyze your own decisions, both the ones you're proud of and the ones you wish you could take back, and extract the deeper lessons behind them. It's not just about what happens to you, but what you learn from what happens to you. That's where the real value lies. Every success and every misstep holds insight. If you're willing to pause and ask yourself, What is this teaching me? And the more you learn, the more you realize how much more there is to learn. Wisdom breeds humility. As your awareness deepens, so does your understanding of how complex, nuanced, and unpredictable life can be. The wisest people aren't the loudest or most certain. They're the ones who stay curious, who keep asking questions, who never stop evolving. That humility is what keeps you open to growth. And when you pair that humility with discipline, when you combine the drive to act with the judgment to act wisely, you create an extraordinary force. It's that combination that allows you to make consistent, meaningful progress in your life. You start choosing goals that truly matter. You avoid many of the painful mistakes that others fall into. You build a life that isn't just busy, but rich, purposeful, and deeply satisfying. This is the essence of what it means to truly focus on your own life. It's not about shutting the world out. It's not about being cold or self-centered. It's about taking full ownership of who you are and who you're becoming. It's about doing the deep, intentional work of becoming the kind of person who can live with purpose, lead with clarity, and contribute something meaningful to the world. Because in the end, your life is both your responsibility and your greatest chance. No one else can live it for you. No one else can make your decisions, chase your goals, or find your happiness. Those choices are yours, and within them lie your greatest potential. These responsibilities, your dreams, your growth, your success, are what make life so exciting, so challenging, and ultimately so meaningful. So embrace the simple, yet powerful truth. Nobody cares about your success as much as you do. And instead of feeling discouraged by that, let's set you free. Let free you from the constant craving for approval, the need to be validated by others, the trap of waiting for someone else to believe in you before you move forward. Let that truth drive you to take full ownership of your life. Let it become your motivation to step up, take initiative, and focus with intention on your personal growth and development. Let it become your compass, guiding you toward who you're meant to become and the life you're meant to live. Always remember, success doesn't require perfection. It requires progress. It's not about having every answer right away. It's about having the courage to ask the right questions. It's not about avoiding mistakes altogether, because mistakes are inevitable. It's about extracting wisdom from every stumble and letting each lesson make you stronger, sharper, and more self-aware. It's not about impressing the world. It's about improving yourself. Your life is waiting for you to take command. Your dreams are waiting for you to pursue them with purpose. Your potential is waiting for you to unlock it through consistent action. And your future? It's out there, waiting for you to create it. No one else can walk that path for you. No one else can climb your mountain. No one else can fulfill the vision that lives inside your heart. And honestly, that's a beautiful thing. Because when you rise to meet the challenge, when you become the person who takes complete responsibility for your own journey, you tap into a power and freedom nothing else in life can offer. This is your moment, your opportunity, your one and only life. So focus on it with everything you've got. Give it your full attention. Shape it, own it, and watch as it becomes something truly extraordinary. Something that reflects your courage, your growth, and your truth. Wishing you strength, happiness, and good health. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Mindset Daily, for more powerful insights to help you become your best self.